What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to kind of go off on a rant on the Buffalo Sabres. I recently, a couple weeks ago, I made a video specifically on the Winnipeg Jets, and it did really, really good. So what I think I'm going to start doing for now that the regular season started, we're in day 4, right, of the regular season. Super, super awesome. I'm actually recording this the day the season starts, but I am thinking, for the coverage of the NHL season, I do want to kind of make videos on specific teams or specific player stories. I think those videos do better anyway, so that's the general approach I'm going to have for this. Now, I was thinking of what video could I make for this one, technically like the first video kicking off the season, right? And I'm going to have a video tomorrow. There's going to be videos, every week almost, going throughout the entire NHL season. I'm super excited to get started. And I thought, well, I could talk about the Buffalo Sabres. I love the Buffalo Sabres. I've been following them for 10 years. They're my team, right? And I've made videos about them before. I've made videos about Ristolainen before. And I just wanted to go off because I was complaining to my fiance about it, and she doesn't care. So I thought, well, I need somebody to be able to vent this to. And I think you guys are the perfect ones because anybody that watches this, you may be a Buffalo Sabres fan, you may be just a general hockey fan. But I kind of want to talk about how they're wasting time, they're wasting potential, and they're losing the patience of basically everybody. Now, again, at this point, I believe they're going to be playing the second game of the season today. I don't know what happened in the first game. I'm just going to assume they lost, but it doesn't matter. If they won 10-0, it honestly wouldn't change my opinions of. I have no idea what this team is doing. I'm furious and kind of over Jason Botterill. Even though I liked him, I liked the signing when they first brought him in. I thought he was a smart hockey, analytical mind. He was kind of always praised and has been the one to been the, they've given him the credit for what he did in Pittsburgh during their good years. And then it was kind of like, well, when he left, they also started to decline, so maybe he really was behind all of the good. That's totally possible, but when you have Malkin and Crosby, it's hard to mess up. Although, you could say when you have Eichel, Reinhart, Skinner, Dahlin, it's also hard to mess up, and he continues to do it. For every good move this guy makes, he makes 2 bad moves. This offseason really did have a lot of good. Okay, getting Colin Miller, trading Nylander for Yoki Harju, those are good moves. Signing Johansson, VC's a living body, right? And although generally he is pretty darn bad, especially analytically, he's pretty awful, and you really don't need more of those players to a team that already has problems in that department. But he does score relatively well. This is a contract year. Maybe he scores 20 goals. That is a lot of value there. So if you did get a 15 to 20 goal scorer, that is very, very solid. Even though, the underlying numbers, he may suck. Besides that, that's all fine, okay? They did some really good things. They dropped Pominville for some reason, but then we get to the bad. Keeping Larson, keeping Gergensons, keeping Sabotka, and somehow having his way to the second line, playing with Johansson and Skinner, which is just mind-numbing. Only signing Rodriguez to a 1-year deal and having arbitration do it. Same thing with Jake McCabe. Same thing with Linus Ullmark. And again, not getting rid of the dead weight. Ristolainen is still, I guess when I'm recording this, hopefully he's gone, but he's still here. Scandella is still here, and worse, he's in the lineup. And so, same thing with Sabotka. He's here, but even worse than that, it's not like he's their 13th forward. He's their second-line right winger somehow, okay? Okposo, he's still here. The team seems to not care about wanting to win now. A lot of people have said that, what we all see them doing is getting ready for next year. Next year seems to be the year they go for. And why is that? It's basically just the year that they lose all the dead weight contracts. They lose Sabotka. They lose Scandella. They lose Hunwick, which, not a big deal. He went on IR. They lose Bogosian. Not a big deal. He goes on IR. So, they lose all of these players that, they can replace with better players or just keep the core, promote some of your young guys, which that's the next problem is all these young players that made the push to be in the lineup. Curtis Lazar, who isn't even that great, but he's probably going to be better or at least a fresh face rather than Zemgus Girgensons. You have Tage Thompson, who actually looked majorly improved this year. Does he deserve a spot over Sabotka and Okposo? Absolutely, but he's not going to get it. Why? Because Okposo is getting paid for too long and too much money, and Sabotka, I don't really know why. He's just still here. So internal competition they can say exists, it really doesn't exist. Defensively, yeah, there's not much you can do. Pilot being injured, Montour being injured. Hopefully, when those players are back, Montour knocks down Ristolainen, knocks down Miller, does things like that, and hopefully when Pilot comes back, knocks down McCabe and knocks Scandella completely out of the lineup. That's what I'm hoping. And to be honest, still, people, in the offseason were putting together their lineups, and with the players, if you look at the entire organization, and I guess you'd have to make them, not injured. So it does suck. It's not necessarily their fault Montour and Pilot are injured, or even Bogosian, who could be like a sixth defenseman, your third pair right-hand defenseman. It's not their fault. But when they get Pilot and Montour back, they need to be in the proper spots. And that's the thing with the offseason that people were doing, looking at the entire lineup, including Thompson, including C.J. Smith, including Rasmus Asplund, all these players, looking at them and saying, if they put them all where they should be, and, not everything's perfect, and the lineups they do maybe just flat out would not work. Maybe a player just would not actually gel with other players. But you look at like underlying numbers, you look at the deeper analytics, and if you put them where they belong, the team is actually pretty good. The team, even when you look at even projections like on different hockey websites that do it very, very well, their projections for the Sabres are pretty low, but even when players started being moved around, when Hunwick went out and they put him on IR, the lineups, like projected lineups, they changed, and Buffalo actually went up in points, like projected points, because of it. So if you eliminate Scandella, if you're playing Ristolainen less, if you don't have Okposo and Sobotka and even Gergensons in your lineup, and you replace them with just average players or good players that haven't been thrusted into that role before but maybe would surprise you, if you do all of that, the numbers keep rising. In Buffalo's case, it is truly, addition by subtraction. They can legitimately, and they have, gotten better just by losing players. Now, no, not losing Pilot and Montour. That's not a good thing. But if you lost, Ristolainen, Scandella, let's just start there. And you knocked McCabe down forward-wise. You lost Sobotka. You lost Okposo. You lost Gergensons. You move some people around. You shuffle lines up. You bring back up Tage Thompson. You use some of the AHL young players that could actually impress in their roles. You move them around, and Buffalo legitimately jumps points big time, okay? They can be very, very close to the playoffs if they just did it right. But the ultimate problem, the reason that this is like a frustration rant kind of video, is that they don't. And that's the scariest and most worrying thing about this team is, they don't. I don't think they want to win now. The management doesn't care about winning now. They're content to go to next year. Reinhart's 24. Eichel's 23. Eichel is now in, the second year of his big contract. That's a big deal. Reinhart, after the end of this year, is going to get a big contract. But these are the best years that you're going to get. Hockey players stop getting better at like 27, 28. Yeah, they'll peak and they'll probably stay that way until they're like 32, 33. So, that's good. But these are legitimately the best years over the next, 8-ish years. But these next 3 or 4 years are the best years that you can possibly get. Who knows? Maybe they massively slow down at 28, 29. The best players in the world tend to still stay. The best players, you normally see big drops from players when they are not, like Okposo, like old Sabres and Islanders, Matt Molson. They're not that good. They were decently above average good in their best years, but when they hit 29, 30 years old, they just fall off a cliff. Now, will Eichel and Reinhart fall off a cliff? Absolutely not. They're too smart and they're too good of a hockey player to do that. But still, there's always a risk, and there's risk of injuries. The bottom line is they do have the roster. They do have the players here that they can push for the, what are we waiting for? Do we want another top 5 draft pick? Is that the plan? Let's get another solid winger, a nice young winger, and then go, or get another defenseman. You have up-and-coming defensemen. You have up-and-coming forwards. Dylan Cousins, who they sent back down. He can be a legitimate second-line center, just like Middlestat. So you basically have 2 second-line centers now. They have promising defensemen coming up and more that are farther away. So what are they waiting for? Do they want more young players? Because legitimately, they don't need them. They can finish a couple points out of the playoffs. They can get the 13th, 14th, 15th overall pick. That's totally cool. Nobody, I think at this point, nobody's going to say it's tank or make the playoffs. at this point of the game, it's okay to push for the playoffs, miss just short, and then get like the 14th overall pick. Because you know why? We are in the situation where they're going to get better. We are in the situation where young players will start to come up and fill those gaps where we don't necessarily need more top 3 picks in order to do this. We have, honestly, everything we need. And then we just have to fill in the gaps in order to make the playoffs. They could legitimately make the playoffs this year if they put the lineup exactly how it should be, and then if they found help goaltender-wise, because goaltender-wise is going to be their biggest deal this year with Hudden and Ullmark. I don't think they're going to be good enough to do it. So if they even had the best team they could assemble, I still think they would need help goaltender-wise. If they got that, I think they honestly could make the playoffs. 100%. I think they'd make the playoffs. So, that's a big deal. We don't need top 3 talent anymore. Yeah, it's nice, but we don't need it anymore. We're past that point. It's just frustrating. And nothing that the coach has done. I mean, yeah, I like Kruger. I like his kind of mindset. I like his motivational aspect. He still puts Sabocka on the second line. He still plays Scandella, okay? Now, maybe, again, when the defense is fixed and is healthy, maybe that doesn't happen. But forward-wise, what's the excuse? What's the excuse? Why is Sabocka playing over Thompson? Why is he playing over Rodriguez? Like, what's the deal? That's his fault. That's his fault for playing them. In terms of Botterill, that's his fault for keeping them. He re-signs Scott Wilson. He re-signs Remy Ellie. He re-signs Gergensons, Larson. He doesn't get rid of Sabocka. He doesn't get rid of Scandella. He doesn't trade Ristolainen. What is his deal? And that's the biggest thing is, yeah, they do have the potential, and they do have the players to overall maybe push for the playoffs, and especially next year could probably make the playoffs pretty easily. But when you have the management that they do, it's scary. It's scary because I feel like they don't know how to evaluate those middle tier players. Yeah, they can evaluate the best players. That's easy. I can evaluate the best players. I could have called Eichel and McDavid. Anybody could have called Eichel and McDavid. That's or Dahlin, who's basically the McDavid of defensemen. Super easy to do. But the middle tier talent to fill out your roster, I don't think he can do it. And that's honestly alarming to me. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you stand, or where do you stand with the Buffalo Sabres this year if you guys are a fan? Where do you think they'll finish, and what do you think their problems are going forward for this season, next season? What do you think they are? Do you think it's management? Do you think it's the players? Let me know. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel podcast. Now hit that bell icon because we do these NHL videos quite often. Like I said, the season's starting, so we're going to have loads of videos talking again about specific storylines, specific teams, specific players. That's kind of how I want to start it until these videos, these videos I think are going to do the better that the other videos probably couldn't do. So I'm going to stick with this kind of layout to start. If it doesn't work, I'll change it up again. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you all on the next video.